You always knew there was something different about you, not in a way that made you feel superior, but in a way that made you feel other. Like you were born with a blueprint no one else could read. You've walked through life with a strange weight in your spirit, a heaviness that didn't come from the world, but from something older, something deeper. And if you're still watching this, it means you felt it too. The pull, the ache, the sense that your suffering was never random, that your darkness wasn't a curse, that maybe, just maybe, it was a portal to something sacred, something terrifying, something divine. Because what if I told you what you thought was your downfall was the activation of God's shadow power inside you? Let's be honest, the idea of chosen ones is romanticized. Most people think it means being saved, being pure, being special. But the truth is, the real chosen ones are marked not by light, but by darkness. Not by ease, but by intensity. We are not the ones who had perfect lives. We are the ones who were shattered, exiled, misunderstood, betrayed by our own families, hunted by invisible energies. Why? Because we were carrying a frequency that the world wasn't ready for. A power that had to be tempered through fire. You don't become a vessel for shadow light by meditating in a garden. You become it by surviving the abyss and not losing your soul. And if you've done that, even once, then you're not just awake, you're dangerous to everything false.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lessons.
There are signs, markings, not physical, but energetic. The first one is this: you've been through more in one lifetime than most people would survive in 10. And yet you're still here. You didn't just survive the pain, you absorbed it, transformed it, let it burn you into someone unrecognizable. That's not trauma. That's initiation. The dark chosen ones are not selected for comfort. We are selected to hold frequencies that would crush most people. Death, abandonment, abuse, psychic attack, these are not random. They are the proving grounds. Because only those who've walked through hell have the authority to carry the keys to heaven's shadows. We don't preach about God's love from the mountaintop, we embody it in the valley. The second sign is that you were rejected by every system you tried to belong to. Not because you were flawed, but because you couldn't be programmed. You saw through the lies. You questioned everything. School didn't make sense. Religion felt hollow. Society felt like a game no one was winning. You tried to fit in, but your soul refused. That wasn't failure, that was protection. Because the dark chosen ones aren't meant to be molded. We are meant to break molds. We are the cracks in the matrix, in the glitch in the illusion, the virus in the program. And that's why you were isolated, not to punish you, but to initiate you. Because solitude is the only place the shadow voice of God can be heard clearly. Have you ever asked yourself, why me? Why did you go through all that pain, all that betrayal, all that loss? Why, when others seemed to glide through life with ease, were you chosen for the path of shadows? I want you to hold that question in your heart right now. Because what I'm about to share with you is not just philosophy, it's a revelation, a spiritual blueprint. And once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it. you'll realize that every moment of suffering was not random, it was a sacred initiation. One designed by your own soul before you were even born. First, let's break something open. In this modern world, we're taught to fear suffering, and to medicate it, to avoid it, to drown it in distractions and run from anything that hurts. But that's exactly why so many remain asleep. Because pain is the gatekeeper of transformation. And only those who dare walk through it get the keys to the ancient power hidden on the other side. You didn't go through what you went through because you were weak. You went through it because you were being forged. I remember a time when I lost everything. Friends vanished. Family turned their backs, money gone, health collapsing. I was alone on the floor, screaming at a God I wasn't even sure existed. But do you know what I learned? That rock bottom is not the end. It's the beginning. It's where the illusion of control dies and true surrender begins. And in that surrender, something strange happens. You start to hear whispers, not from outside, but from deep within, from a place you had forgotten. And those whispers, they are the voice of your soul, reminding you that you are not broken, you are being initiated. This is how the dark chosen ones awaken. Not in temples, not in churches, not in retreats with incense and soft music. No, they awaken in chaos, in betrayal, or in heartbreak. In the middle of a breakdown when everything collapses and the only thing left is truth. And here's the twist. That truth is terrifying. Because it says, you are not who you think you are. You are so much more. But to become that more, the old you has to die. That's the real purpose of suffering. It's spiritual surgery. It cuts away the lies, the masks, the illusions. It shatters the ego so the soul can rise. But it doesn't feel like a blessing at first. It feels like drowning, like being buried, like screaming into a void that never answers. And yet, something inside you survives, something ancient, something divine. You wouldn't be listening to this if you hadn't already survived things that should have destroyed you. Think about that. How many times did you think you were done, only to rise again? How many times did you feel lost, only to be guided by signs that made no logical sense but led you exactly where you needed to be? That's not luck. That's design. That's the path of the dark chosen ones. We are not led by logic, we are led by soul. But let me ask you something deeper. What if the pain was not just yours? What if it was ancestral? What if you were chosen to break generational curses, to transmute the trauma of those who came before you? Can you feel that? The weight you've been carrying, it's not just personal. It's cosmic. You are a vessel for transformation, the sacred bridge between what was and what can be. And to become that bridge, you had to be broken open. That's why your life didn't go as planned. That's why the relationships didn't last. That's why the normal path never worked for you. Because you were never meant to walk the same road as everyone else. You were meant to carve a new one, through fire, through shadow, through the unseen realms that most people fear, because only there could you receive the power that's now rising within you. Let me share something wild with you. I once spent 3 days alone in the Sahara Desert. No tent, no food, just sand, silence, and the stars. On the second night, I started hallucinating, or so I thought. I saw a figure made of shadow and light. It didn't speak, but I understood it. It showed me my entire life, every trauma, every betrayal, like puzzle pieces falling into place. And then it said something, not with words, but with pure knowing. Your suffering was your training. That was it. And I wept, because I finally understood. I wasn't a victim. I was in boot camp for sacred warriors. And so are you. Let that sink in. All the pain, the confusion, the loneliness, it wasn't meaningless. It was your soul's way of preparing you for your mission. Because you have one. You didn't come here just to survive. You came to awaken, to remember, to lead. But first, you had to forget. You had to lose everything you thought you were, so you could discover who you were always meant to be. Here's a practical truth most people will never tell you. Initiation doesn't look like glory. It looks like failure. It feels like madness. It smells like death. But if you endure it, if you stay with it and don't numb it away, you will be reborn into something unshakable, something radiant with both shadow and light. That's the paradox. True enlightenment includes the darkness. It doesn't avoid it, it integrates it. So here's what I want you to do. Tonight, sit with your pain. Not as an enemy, but as a teacher. Ask it, what are you here to show me? And then listen. Not with your mind, but with your soul. The answers will come. Maybe in a dream. Maybe in a memory. Maybe in the sudden knowing that hits you like lightning. But they will come. Because the moment you stop resisting your suffering is the moment you activate your sacred power. And remember this, there's no going back. Once you awaken to the truth that your pain was an initiation, you can't unsee it. The world will still try to distract you, numb you, pull you back into sleep. But you'll know, you'll feel it in your bones. You are not like them. You are not meant to live a small, safe life. You are meant to become a living portal for the divine. A vessel through which God's shadow power flows. That's the real reason you were chosen. Not to be comfortable, but to be powerful. Not to be accepted, but to awaken others. Not to follow, but to lead from the unseen realms into the light. So tell me, are you ready to stop running from your past and start walking into your purpose? Have you ever wondered why certain people don't fit in, no matter how hard they try? Why some seem cursed with darkness yet carry eyes that see too deeply? I used to think pain was a punishment until I realized it was a portal. A portal to something most never dare to look into. If you're hearing this, maybe you are one of us. Maybe you're one of the dark chosen ones. And maybe, just maybe, the signs you've been ignoring your whole life were actually the keys to unlocking God's shadow power. Let me take you back. I remember being a child and feeling like I was dropped into a world that didn't make sense. Everyone wore masks, played roles, followed rules written by people who never knew the truth. I would see people smile, but their eyes screamed for help. I would sit in rooms full of light, yet feel the shadows crawling behind every word. I thought I was broken, but I wasn't. I was being chosen. And the choosing doesn't look glamorous. It looks like isolation. It looks like betrayal. It feels like being abandoned by God until you realize you are being summoned into His hidden realm. You see, not all chosen ones walk in the light. Some are sent into darkness, because only there can they awaken the ancient power buried beneath the illusions of the world. The signs are strange. Maybe you've always felt like you didn't belong. Maybe you've had vivid dreams of fire, of falling, of flying, of beings whispering ancient truths. Maybe you've lost everything, over and over again, and didn't know why. That's not coincidence. That's initiation. I once met a man in the mountains of Nepal. He was silent for 7 years. When he finally spoke, he told me, God hides His true voice in silence, and His true warriors in exile. That line changed my life, because exile is exactly what the dark chosen ones experience. But it's not punishment, it's preparation. Your suffering refines you. Your solitude sharpens you. Your losses are not losses, they're the removal of what is false, so the real can awaken. But most people run from the dark. They seek comfort, light, validation. Not you. You stayed, you endured, and that's why you're being called now. But let me ask you something, and I want you to really feel this. What if the very things you thought were curses were actually sacred contracts? What if every heartbreak, every breakdown, every sleepless night was a sign on the path to your true power? Would you still resent the pain, or would you bow to it? That's what separates the awakened from the asleep. The awakened bow to the pain because they know it's the teacher wearing the mask of a demon. Look around your life. Think about the patterns, the moments that broke you, the whispers you heard when no one else was around, the sense that you were meant for something but had no proof. That's not mental illness. That's ancestral memory. That's spiritual DNA. You are the descendant of those who walked between worlds. And now, it's your turn. The first sign of the dark chosen one is the rejection of false light. What do I mean? I mean, you've always been allergic to fakeness. You can't stand shallow conversations. You've sensed when people lie, even if they smile. You felt drained in crowds and alive only in silence or with nature. The world calls this weird, but let me tell you, it's sacred. That sensitivity is not weakness, it's your radar. It's your built-in compass to navigate spiritual realms, and it's been guiding you your whole life. But here's the trap. Most dark chosen ones get seduced by the pain. They think they are victims, that the darkness means they are doomed. But no, my friend, the darkness was never the end. It's the womb, the place where you die to who you were so you can be reborn as who you really are. The place of shadow is the place of power, but only if you pass the tests. Let me share something crazy. I once fasted for 7 days in a haunted cave in India. No light, just me, my breath, and the whispers of spirits I couldn't see. On the 4th night, something happened. I felt a presence. Not evil, not good, just vast, indescribable. It spoke without words. It showed me visions of ancient temples, lost civilizations, beings who bend time. And then I saw myself not as I am, but as I could be. A being of both shadow and light, a bridge. And I wept, because I finally understood I wasn't cursed. I was being chosen to carry something ancient. That's what I want you to understand. The signs aren't random. The dreams, the synchronicities, the strange encounters, they're the code. The spiritual breadcrumbs left by your soul before you entered this life. And now they're activating, because the world needs the dark chosen ones now more than ever. The old systems are collapsing, and only those who've walked through the fire can lead others through the coming storm. So let me ask you something. Will you answer the call? Will you stop pretending to be normal and start embodying what you really are? Will you stop hiding your pain and start using it as a torch to light the way for others? Because here's the truth. God's shadow power is not evil. It's misunderstood. It's the realm of transformation, of death and rebirth, of endings that lead to higher beginnings. It's raw. It's wild. It's not for the faint of heart. But it's real, and it's yours, if you dare to claim it. Now, here's your next step. Tonight, before you sleep, ask your soul to reveal the truth. Not the truth they taught you, the real truth, or about who you are, or about why you're here. And listen, not with your ears, with your dreams, with your bones. Let the signs come. They always do. And remember, if the world never understood you, it's because you were never meant to fit in. You were meant to wake it up,